You're listening to the Optimal Performance Podcast. The OPP is brought to you by Natural Stacks, makers of 100% natural and open source supplements designed to help you live optimal. For more information on how to build optimal mental and physical performance into your life, go to naturalstacks.com. Oh, what's up, everybody? Before we jump into this episode of the OPP, as I customarily do, I will cover one product that I love that we carry, and today it's the natural protein. I think when you're fasting and when you eat for ketosis, like I do, about 80% of the time, I think that there is sometimes a lack in high quality protein. And because of the amount of fat that you're eating, what I found is that when I'm in ketosis, I sort of slim down almost too much. And now I'm trying to put a little bit of weight back on for the summertime. And I've been using a lot more of the whey plus collagen protein that we carry. And as you know, it's 18 grams of grass-fed protein per serving. And it also has collagen and colostrum. And as you probably already know, collagen is really good for connective tissues. Colostrum is an enzyme that helps fight disease, and in combination, when you add either the vanilla bean or, in the case that I like the cacao, it creates this opportunity for a protein that's really good for you, that's not super filling. You don't have to eat a whole entire steak, and it really has helped me put on some lean muscle mass in the course of like the last 2 months or so. So if you are trying to bulk up for the summertime, or you're trying to put on a little extra lean muscle mass, the natural protein is an excellent way to go. It's a really clean, non-bloaty protein that I now take once or twice a day. Give it a shot. You guys all have a pretty stellar opportunity to double up on the brain food line that we carry at Natural Stacks with a buy one, get one BOGO offer. Buy one, get one. And as you know, you're familiar with the brain food line, which is the dopamine brain food, serotonin brain food, acetylcholine brain food, and GABA brain food. And now we're running a special for a buy one, get one on all brain food stacks at Natural Stack for the month of June. Just use the code BOGO at checkout when you buy any single bottle of any of the Natural Stacks brain foods, and you will get another one for free on the house. Buy one, get one. These are sort of the secret sauce. These are magical little supplements that I use, one of them at least every day, to help me, whether it's mental clarity or positive mood or mental drive or relaxation. Read up on it too. Head to the website and read the details of what's in it, how it works, and what the benefits are, and then take advantage of this offer. Buy one, get one, BOGO, naturalstacks.com. On today's episode of the Optimal Performance Podcast, we have Joe Scola, who is the founder of Wise Ape Tea. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm a big fan of tea. I drink tea every day, usually in the afternoon, and then usually another cup in the evening time, like an herbal tea. But Wise Ape Tea is a pretty cool company. It's an adaptogenic tea. So let's take, for example, the Chocolate Hustle, which is a cacao, mint, yerba mate tea. Yes, chocolate, mint, tea, yerba mate. It's awesome. It tastes incredible, and it has adaptogens as part of the ingredients. Let me read these off to you. Organic roasted yerba mate, organic peppermint leaf, organic cacao nibs, organic bacopa, organic ashwagandha, organic tulsi, organic chicory, organic stevia. And it's a cool company. It's branded really well. The tea is awesome. So the Chocolate Hustle is a nootropic tea, and the other two lines from Wise Ape, if you go to wiseapetea.com, is a Coconut Warrior. And the Coconut Warrior tea from Wise Ape is a turmeric tea. And these teas are really nice additions to whatever you're doing for supplementation. And because they have adaptogens in them to sort of regulate your stress and regulate your body's own sort of systems, they're really delicious. They taste good. It's a cool story. And when you buy the tea from these guys, they donate to worthy causes. And I really enjoyed our conversation. We get a little bit into sort of the the deep dive into how tea works and what people use and sort of the historical relevance of it. But he and I also talk about sort of my tea habits and his tea habits, and it's a cool thing. I mean, I think bulletproof coffee and fatty coffee get a lot of credit, and which is of course good, because I drink the butter coffee in the morning as well, and you can switch that to tea really easily, and it's also delicious. And I think tea as an afternoon beverage, and also the ceremony around tea, are kind of fun and interesting. If you're looking for something to do with your buddies, with your friends, instead of going out and drinking 20 beers, why don't you hang out and drink some tea and chit chat, kind of hang out and chill. It's a really cool podcast, and I really enjoyed him coming on, and I hope that you guys enjoy. You're listening to the Optimal Performance Podcast, and I'm your host, Sean McCormick. It's the OPP. I'm a performance coach, a wellness entrepreneur, a blogger, a speaker, a biohacker, and it's my privilege to bring to you the leading experts in the field of performance. So let's dig right in. And we are joined on today's episode of the OPP by Joe Scola, who is the founder of Wise Ape Tea. Joe, thanks for joining us today.
Sean, happy to be here, my friend.
Nice.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, man. Before we jump into the wide world of tea, which I'm so excited to talk about because I actually do drink your tea every day. I start the same way every time, every episode, by asking the person what is in their body. So right now it's 11 o'clock on the East Coast where you are. It's 8 a.m. where I am here on the West Coast. What is in your system today, Joe? What have you eaten?
What have I eaten? So I typically practice intermittent fasting on a daily basis, with the exception of a few days each week. But so this morning, I knew I was coming on. So I woke up and I made myself a silverback tea, which is our version of bulletproof, right? So it's healthy fats blended into we have a Chocolate Hustle Adaptogenic tea blend, and I use that as the base. And then on top of that, I actually stacked it with some Siltep from Natural Stacks, because every once in a while I'll dabble with some of these nootropics, and I knew I was coming on here today. I was like, you know what? I'm going to bust out the Siltep. I'm going to pop a couple of these bad boys. So, yeah, right now it's just straight tea and some Siltep.
At what point during the day do you typically break your fast and have your first meal?
Usually around 1 or 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Typically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm similar.
Yeah. Sometimes later, sometimes a little earlier. It really depends on the day.
Yeah. So I'll let you talk more about Wise Ape Tea, but first, let's make this about how much I like tea and how tea has shaped my life, Joe. I grew up in a tea drinking household where my father, still to this day, drinks about 3 or 4 cups of tea a day. My dad is never, it's probably more like 5 or 6 to be honest. My dad was never a coffee drinker, but every single morning he would wake up and make a cup of orange pico tea, which is just basically black tea. And specifically it had to be European red rose. The way that it tasted, the way that it smelled, just it was his thing. And not having coffee in my house growing up, my dad would have a cup of tea in the morning, usually 2, sometimes 3,
it's
and
cool
then in the afternoon when he got back from work in the evening time, he would start drinking tea as well. So 5 or 6 o'clock. It's probably too much caffeine now that I think about it.
It
but
sounds like
tea
he's
always
got his
been
hands on a lot of good teas over there. So hopefully Wise Ape's one of those as well now.
Supplement, not only a nootropic,
I was actually
not
in the
just
tech industry for a number of years,
tasty drink.
and
He would drink it
working on another startup and just kind of grinding away. And
he would drink it with
unfortunately, just as things were kind of hitting their peak with that company, my father was diagnosed with GBM brain cancer, which is a glioblastoma multiforme. Pretty much the worst form of one of the worst forms of cancer you can be diagnosed with. And at that point, decided I was going to move home, going to take care of him, the actual the best to my abilities,
of making a cup of tea and sitting down and having a chat and drinking,
find
and
some
sharing
health
a cup
and
of tea.
happiness.
So it's always been a big part of my life. How
last
did
year.
you,
So
Joe? How did you
over the course
choose
of that
to
time, I
get
started
into tea?
researching a ton of different alternative treatments, and teas and herbs were one of those things. And I started using them not only for my own stress, but also for his health. And started blending them into different concoctions and playing with different herbal combinations, and that's really when I always say the spirit of Wise Ape was born during that time. And it just kind of hit me. And I remember running the idea past my dad, and he loved it. He was all about it, and I had the name and everything. And he kind of gave me his blessing. And at that point, I knew that was going to be my path. And when he passed, I decided I had to pursue this. Like the universe was speaking to me, and I happened to be listening in that moment, and that was going to be my path. So, I ventured into this world of tea and herbs, and because of his illness, that also inspired us to become an altruistic tea company. So each one of our tea blends, we partner with a different nonprofit charity to kind of give back and help spread wellness information and help support some awesomely impactful causes.
Now is a perfect time to plug those, because I think for companies that are so focused on mission, please plug those organizations right away. Tell us how that works and who you support.
Yeah. So first and foremost, we launched with our Chocolate Hustle blend, and we immediately reached out to partner with the National Brain Tumor Society. Obviously, a cause close to my heart, and they're awesome. They're one of the largest nonprofits supporting essentially brain cancer patients and looking to find a cure, and outstanding organization there. And then with our next two blends, we have our Orange Dreamsicle, which we partnered with the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research. Those guys are awesome, and 100% of their donations go directly to research, which is really great. And then last but not least, our Coconut Warrior blend, we partnered with the Warrior Angels Foundation. And this is a veteran-owned, veteran-run organization, two veteran brothers who are helping other troops and other returning vets with TBI and PTSD through natural means as best as possible, trying to not over-medicate some of these troops returning home, but trying to help raise their testosterone levels and reduce brain inflammation naturally. So 3 amazing organizations, and I highly support anybody listening to go check them out and see what they're all about.
That's the National Brain Tumor Society, Team Fox, and Warrior Angels Foundation. Since we met a couple of years ago, and we probably don't need to bore people with, how we came to know each other through social media and so forth. But I really want to dig down into the tea, because I love the products. And for me, again, let's make this about me real quick again. I do the same. I do coffee in the morning. I do a fatty coffee in the morning. Same thing, intermittent fasting. I don't usually eat until 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'll have a fatty coffee or 2 in the morning, and then I don't eat until, usually 2 or 3. And when I do eat, I'm still working, so I still need to be operational. And I like to, after I eat, have a cup of the Chocolate Hustle. And the Chocolate Hustle is a cacao mint yerba mate. And I used to drink yerba mate in college when I was studying. You just can't drink coffee all day every day, so I would drink yerba mate. And so now I know that I won't hit that sort of 2 o'clock post lunch like slump, because I usually have a cup of tea in the afternoon. But I'm so fascinated by the brand and what you've created in the concoctions, because you've included adaptogens, in the teas. And so let's talk a little bit about adaptogens.
Yeah.
Our audience obviously is nootropic fans and tinkerers, and they know what curcumin is, they know what turmeric is, and you tell me a little bit about how you came to be tinkering around with adaptogens in the tea blends.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to me kind of tinkering around with those when helping my dad out and helping myself, my own stress back then. So just kind of moving forward, it was a natural progression that I started researching more and more of these adaptogenic herbs. And we decided, for the first tea, we wanted to kind of create some type of brain support, some type of cognitive supporting blend. Of course, yerba mate is well and widely known for that, dating back centuries and centuries. It's been used as like a brain support, brain stimulant, and because it does contain caffeine. But then there's a number of other adaptogenic herbs which can be combined with the yerba mate. So, like in our original blend, we have bacopa, we have ashwagandha, and tulsi. All three of which in studies have been shown to support and enhance cognition. So yeah, we decided to start playing around with flavors and formula, and we came out. That's initially how we came up with Chocolate Hustle, which is the tea that you had mentioned, the cacao mint yerba mate with adaptogens.
And what was that sort of experimental phase like? Was it like, oh, we'll do a little dash of this and see how I feel, and a little dash of that? Was it trial and error?
It was a bit first. I mean, it was first heavy research. So just reading as much as we possibly could on each of these herbs and checking through the studies that have been done on these herbs. And then from there, ordering a ton of ingredients and tasting them and kind of getting an idea of taste, and then starting to put together the herbs that we thought would work best, A, together synergistically, but B, would also work best in a blend in terms of flavor. And also would work best based on the studies that we had seen. So, it was essentially just starting to put these herbs together and tasting them and subjectively trying to see what we were feeling and how we were feeling. And then obviously created some initial blends and passed them out to friends and family and got feedback from them. And how are you guys feeling? It took little surveys to kind of gauge the effectiveness of what we thought was a great blend, and that's what we've done since then with each one of our blends as well. It always starts with the function, so we start researching different ingredients, then we start pretty much finding the flavor profiles from there, mixing and matching, and then testing our early versions of the blends out on a little circle of friends, family, and tribe members, Wise Ape tribe members.
Do you ever, during this process, do you ever, when your friends and family are supportive, do you ever worry that the feedback that you're getting is honest and not, oh, that's delicious, honey, I love it. Is it? Do you worry about that in the process?
I was at first, but until we handed out a few early samples of a few of the blends where I could tell immediately that people were not, it wasn't our best version of the blend, and I was getting honest feedback. So I kind of have a gauge on who's going to give me honest feedback and who's not. And in addition to that, we've now extended some of those early tasting and testing options to our Wise Ape tribe members. So we'll shoot out some stuff on social media or email to kind of get people to join in to a little survey group. And we've gotten some awesome feedback from our customers. So that's been great.
Yeah. I'm as we're talking, I'm reading through the ingredients. The Coconut Warrior is mint and cacao, and it's a unique flavor, and it's just right. It's a little bit cacao, it's a little bit of mint. That you can the yerba mate is there. The Coconut Warrior is slowly becoming one of my favorites because it's an anti-inflammatory turmeric tea, and I'm reading the ingredients, and this is probably your job, but organic Assam black tea, wild crafted Pau de Arco bark, organic turmeric, organic black pepper, organic cinnamon, organic coconut flakes, organic stevia, natural flavors. Like that, the fact that you've source these ingredients and tinker it around and come up with these blends is fascinating to me. It's like it's like just a little chemistry experiment. Like what's the weirdest blend that you've tried out?
Oh gosh, I mean, even just some of the early versions of Coconut Warrior, Chocolate Hustle. We had some other ingredients there that weren't exactly as palatable as we would have liked. And we've also played around with some, I might be revealing my hand a little bit too much here, but we've played around with some unique matcha formulas, which is something we're working on to come out with in the future. And I don't know if you've ever had a matcha that's not quite the highest in quality or highest grade. Like somebody had sent us some matcha that just really wasn't the best, and bad matcha is just really bad.
Yeah.
Just really, really bad. It should be used in the kitchen, not in your cup. But yeah, I mean, it's all trial and error. So, and everyone's taste buds are so subjective. So some people will love a specific flavor or specific note in one of our blends, and then somebody else won't even taste that note as much. They'll gravitate towards something else in the blend. So it's really unique, and we see a lot of that at the events that we do. Just the diversity of flavor profiles in people. It's crazy.
Yeah. And you're pretty, I mean, you're pretty active, and we've known each other for a couple of years now. And I know that you're one of us, right? You're a biohacker, you're a tinkerer, you're interested in optimal performance. And I'm curious how things have progressed for the company in the last couple of years. Because I see you coming out with new teas, and I see you posting a lot and traveling and stuff like that. Like, how's the tea industry overall for you?
Overall, it's fantastic. Last year we launched with a single product, so there were certainly some challenges in that respect. And then this year we launched 2 more, so now we actually have a full line of teas. We're not just like a one-off, one-trick pony company anymore. And it's been phenomenal. I mean, we've seen our customer base growing. We've seen, in terms of average order sizes, going up. The feedback we've been getting is great. The repeat purchases, people love the product. We've extended our wholesale accounts and all that stuff too. So yeah, I mean, based on the feedback and based on the sales, like, we're definitely onto something. I think it's always great to hear from your customers too. We receive so many messages from people who have said how these teas help them, which is the most important to us. We're able to give back through our charitable partners, but to actually give back directly to a customer by helping them in some aspect of their life, that's just invaluable to us. Specifically the orange dreamsicle, we've gotten so much feedback. I mean, I have messages saved on my phone from people. One was like, hey, I had surgery 4 weeks ago. I haven't been able to sleep at all. I literally fell asleep with a cup of your tea in my hand last night. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Yeah, stuff like that. And it's just, man, it just gives you chills. You read something like that and you're like, man, okay, this mission, just reminds you of the purpose and the reason why you started a company like ours. And there's a lot of emotional attachment for me personally in this company now, based on where it came from and based on where I'd like to see it go. And we want to help people, man. We want to spread wellness. We want to spread wellness knowledge. We want to help people evolve their lives and become better versions of themselves. And that's really the core of Wise Ape.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what we're doing too. We want help. We want to help people, as many people as we can. So I want to go back, because before we hit the record button, you were telling me that there's a legend, that there's a tea legend. Can you just lay that on us, Joe?
Yeah. So essentially, I mean, as legend has it, Sean, around 2700 BC, so about 5,000 years ago, there was a Chinese emperor named Shen Nung. And he's sitting beneath this tree, and I guess he has a servant, because he's an emperor, and one of his servants boiling some drinking water, and out of nowhere, a leaf floats down and lands in this cup of boiling water as he's sitting beneath the tree. And that leaf happened to be the Camellia sinensis, from the Camellia sinensis plant, which is the tea tree. And that's really as legend has it, that's where the origin story of tea kind of got started.
Nice.
And initially, tea was used as medicine throughout China, and then it spread to obviously a number of different regions. And now it's all over. It's worldwide, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that. I like to picture that. One, because we're a supplement company, and maybe you know a ton about delivery methods, maybe not. But what advantage does tea have over other nootropics? Like we take extracts, and we take capsules, and we take stuff like that. Like how does tea differ as an ability to deliver these adaptogens?
Yeah. In terms of delivery, I would say that there's not necessarily an advantage, but it does differ, right? Because not only are you absorbing some of these nootropic compounds, but you're also allowed to absorb a ton of other compounds such as polyphenols,
Right.
So it's a combination of different compounds that you're getting from a tea or from a tea blend like ours, as opposed to just a straight nootropic. In terms of advantage, I don't know that I'd call it an advantage, but it might be a great complement to somebody's nootropic stack. So if somebody's already neck deep in the nootropic world and they're tinkering with all these different chemicals, tea like ours, which has the bacopa in it, which has the ashwagandha in it, might be an awesome addition to what they're already doing. Personally, I play with nootropics from time to time, but I like to consume it as what I like to call the slow drip method, right? Which is, to me, that's what our tea is. It's like a slow drip nootropic tea, as opposed to just kind of like that spike of compounds that's entering your system. And so you might not notice it as much as you would as like a racetam, or if you're playing with like modafinils or anything like that. Like you're probably not going to notice a profound spike like that, but it would be more of a kind of a gentle, subtle effect.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you pour a cup of tea, the hot water activates, the herbs and the other ingredients in the tea. Then it slowly releases, and then you sip it. And over the time of where you sip it, sip it slowly, then it starts to do its thing. One thing that I've always, again, like I drink a lot of tea, and I pay close attention to it. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about some other cultures is that they're really focused on it. Like in South America, you have the South American guys that are drinking yerba mate out of that like gourd thing. Do you know what that's called? I always forget the name of that. It's
the gourd. Gourd.
With like a copper straw, and you'll see, at the World Cup this summer, you'll see tons of South American guys as they are walking into the stadium, like sipping yerba mate out of the tea gourd. And then of course you look at Asian countries and cultures over there where it's a massive part of their sort of cultural infrastructure is the process and ceremony of sipping tea. You get stimulated, you start having conversations, you start making ideas. I'm sure if you went back to like the Silk Road, tea was people went to war over it. It's that important of a resource. There's the Boston Tea Party. It's woven into our cultural reality across the globe, and yet it's still not like wildly popular in the United States. Do you think that the U.S. is more of a coffee drinking culture than a tea culture in your understanding of it?
I think it was, but we've seen a huge shift, especially amongst millennials. More millennials now are drinking tea than coffee. So it's for years, yes. I mean, we were a country based in coffee, and that's it's slowly kind of the teas. I feel like there was a stigma attached to tea a bit, for a while. It seemed to be more of like the daintier,
Sissy?
between coffee. Yeah, like a little bit, like, I'm a child of the 80s, and I remember like it was always coffee was like the more masculine beverage.
You're
Like that's
right.
just how it was, you know. It was like and and tea was kind of more of a daintier beverage, and that was actually part of our mission as well. We wanted to kind of, you know, not only re-educate people on the benefits of health and tea, but kind of make tea hip again. You know, bring some edginess back to the tea world, because it's a fantastic beverage. You know, and there needs to be more brands that speak to this next generation of tea drinker, and we'd like to be one of those.
Yeah. Well, the branding suits. You know, for those of you who have not seen, or this is your first time learning about Wise Ape, just go to this website. Go to Wise Ape Tea, or what? Just wiseape.com. Yeah, Wise Ape Tea.
WiseApeTea.com.
And just peep the branding, like the gorilla with with the third eye. It's just it draws you in. It's the I think you're headed in the right direction, because as soon as you land on the site, as soon as you see the brand, you get it. Okay, this is for a purpose. You know, I'm drinking this for an effect, for this to fuel my life, rather than, you know, I'm sipping with a pinky up out of a teeny tiny cup and a floppy hat. You know, it's not the same.
Right, right. We like to say we mix flavor with function. So although they're functional teas, they taste pretty damn good, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about adaptogens, and I'd love to dig a little bit deeper into the world of adaptogens, and how what the process is. Is all tea a nootropic? Is all tea an adaptogen?
No. So, and in terms of like, are all teas nootropic? I think that really comes down to semantics, right? Like, what's your definition of the word nootropic? I mean, enhances cognition, I guess, is like fundamentally, but the definition might have changed in our current, you know, in the status quo at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe caffeine's a nootropic, then yeah, all tea's a nootropic, as long as you're not drinking decaf. But personally, I wouldn't say all tea's a nootropic. I could see how some of our blends have been referred to as nootropics, because we do include some of these other adaptogenic herbs in there, which, you know, the same ingredients that you might find in nootropics. Like bacopa is a very common herb found in many nootropic brands. So yeah, I mean, what is a nootropic? That's all semantics. But yeah, I don't know that I'd say all tea is a nootropic. Although it could be, depends how you look at it. You know, it's got caffeine, so if caffeine's all you need to get your brain going, and then certainly you could call it that.
Well, there's also, like, you know, herbal teas that are not caffeinated. You know, I mean, you're still consuming an herb that does something, right? Whether it's you know, mint can be an appetite suppressant, and chamomile is relaxing. You know, you're right. I think it depends on your definition of what a nootropic is. So then, how does that differ from adaptogen? For, let's just say this is the first time. Welcome to the OPP. This is the first time they've listened, and they want to know what an adaptogen is. How do you define that?
Right. So adaptogens are compounds, herbs are compounds that contain compounds that better help the body regulate stress. So, and that's the general quality of what's classified as an adaptogen. On top of that, these adaptogens can have other qualities, which is why the 3 adaptogens we used in Chocolate Hustle also have been shown to increase cognitive function. The adaptogens that we've used in Orange Dreamsicle also have been shown to promote relaxation and sleep. So this world of adaptogens, there's tons of different adaptogenic herbs, and they're fantastic at helping the body to really better regulate stress, better deal with stressors internally and externally. But on top of that, they have some other amazing qualities as well.
Which is your favorite? I know that's not a fair question, but
oh man, that's not fair. My favorite is the blend that we're working on right now, which we can't reveal
Oh,
just yet.
smart. Well played, Joe. Okay. All right. That's fair.
Really, I mean, really, to be fair, it comes down to, for me, it comes down to time of day and how I'm feeling and what I'm trying to achieve, right? So mornings, I usually go with the chocolate hustle. Because of the yerba mate, there's a bit more caffeine in that one. So it gives me a little bit more of a kick in the butt when I'm kind of getting my day going. Plus, it has the additional cognitive support of those 3 adaptogens we mentioned. Midday, I usually go towards the Coconut Warrior because I'm trying to cut down my caffeine content as I get closer to the end of the day, right?
Right.
You don't want to be loading up on caffeine right before bed. It's going to disrupt your deep sleep, your REM sleep, your sleep in general. And then before bed, I go with the orange dreamsicle. Kind of winds me down. It's ceremonial for me. It's kind of part of my nightly routine. Sometimes I'll even take like a CBD infused coconut oil or something like that and blend it into our dreamsicle and do some like late night, I shouldn't say late night, but pre-bed stretching with kettlebells or just some yoga or just kind of stretch the body out and relax. Yeah, it really depends on use case, you know?
Yeah. No, you're right. That wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. Cause I'm the same way. And I think our listeners are too, right? You know, like if you've got to get stuff done, you're going to gravitate toward, one thing over another and time of day. I'm glad that you brought up CBD because you may know this, you know, you probably know this about me already, but, I'm a giant proponent of the power of CBD as a medicine, and a supplement to reduce swelling, and tell me a little bit more about the CBD infused coconut oil blending in the evening time.
Yeah, so recently I've tried it from a company called Santa Cruz Medicinals. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the company. And they infuse this amazing coconut oil with CBD, and it's about 40 milligrams of CBD per serving. And the same way that you would blend up like a bulletproof coffee or, you know, a bulletproof tea, I do that with the Dreamsicle at night. So you're getting a little bit of the added healthy fats, you're getting the CBD oil, and you're getting the adaptogenic herbs in our tea blend, which are probably even more bioavailable because you're blending them with fat as well. So I love it, man. It puts me on cloud 9.
Yeah.
Just sets me up for a great night's sleep and rejuvenation.
You know, I don't know if you heard the episode with Alon Shabo from Sabaidi, who he does the CBD tincture called Good Vibes. He was explaining to me that the CBD is actually a stimulant. It's a stimulant, but it stimulates the right aspects of your sleep cycle so that you can actually sleep deeper. I thought that was kind of fascinating. I've dug into it a little bit more. So it's not like it doesn't knock you out. It actually stimulates parts of your brain and parts of your central nervous system so that when you're sleeping, you're not woken up as easily. So you can actually it's this sort of like inversion of what you might expect.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I actually hadn't heard that episode. I'm gonna have to go back and dig in. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a pretty popular one. People like that one. I guess, you know, talking about cannabis, people get excited. Where was I gonna go? Where are you gonna go with this? Like, you know, if now that you've gone from, you know, tech guy to tea blend entrepreneur, now that you've got some experience in composing and different recipes and different blends and introducing adaptogens, you know, coming up with these teas, do you see, does everything indicate that your business is going to continue to grow and people are going to be drinking more tea and therefore you're going to keep rocking it out and growing this business? Like where do you go from here, Joe?
Yeah, if all the stars align, Sean, we're gonna keep plugging away here. Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, the feedback and the sales and everything from a business perspective has been great. We've seen growth in every direction. So at this point, it's up to us to just maintain quality. That's important, right? Because as we grow, you don't want to start cutting corners and sacrificing aspects of the business or of the product. So that's really important to us, and to keep the core of our business intact as well, which is the altruistic movement. So yeah, we're going to just keep innovating. We've got some we're always trying to come up with something that's a little unique instead of just putting out a blend that you might see on the shelf of like a Target or something like that. We're always looking to innovate and put together unique ingredients, and you might even see us come out with a different line of products in the future as well. So just always experimenting.
Yeah. What was some of the feedback that you've gotten what's the, because we've seen mushroom coffees, we've seen the guys who's the, oh man, it's the name is, I didn't take
Four Sigmatic.
Yeah,
you're talking about, yeah,
right. So like that's a thing now. People are drinking. People are drinking that product. Do you see what's the strangest thing that you've put into a tea? Like what's the weirdest tasting or strangest adaptogen that you've put in the tea so far? Or can you talk about it?
Yeah, we certainly we've played around with some mushrooms. I've actually, even the Four Sigmatic guys, they make some great products. So we've some of our silverback bulletproof tea recipes. We've thrown in some unique mushroom mixtures into there. Sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. It really depends on the flavor profile we're going for. Yeah, I mean, dude, I've thrown just about anything you could think of into our tea, to be honest. I really have, man. I mean, powders and just everything you can think of. Raw ingredients. I'm always experimenting. So.
Can we expect like a gold flake tea at some point?
I don't think that's quite in our future.
Maybe not sustainable.
Like a bejeweled Wise Ape tea blend or something.
Yeah,
no.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
I know that you're intimately involved and keep up with podcasts and the personal development space and the performance space, biohacking and so forth. You're in the crew, you're in the web of optimal performers. What's the feedback or what sort of response have you gotten from the sort of paleo community or keto community or performance-based community for your teas? Like what, from somebody who's on a different coast than I am, who probably reads different things than I am, but are still interested in performance. Like what's been your association and your reception from sort of the hard charging performance community?
Yeah, great question. And actually, those communities are the ones that initially helped build this brand. Because last year when we launched our Chocolate Hustle, those were the communities that we were speaking to and we were sending samples to and we were reaching out to and connecting with and gaining that feedback. So their response was fantastic. I mean, just amazing feedback all the way around from all of the communities you named. The keto communities who have adopted, our teas in forms of the silverback bulletproof tea that we do. The biohacking communities. And I wish sometimes I was kind of out on the West Coast because I feel like there's more out there. There's not as many. There's not as many people out on the East Coast here that are really kind of part of those communities. I'd say the communities are just smaller out here.
Sure.
So for us, it's been a lot of education. So a lot of these East Coast events that we attend, it's a lot of education on our part because not everybody knows what paleo is, what keto is, what biohacking is. Not everybody knows what adaptogens are. So it's been a huge amount of education on our end to try and bring some of those tools and some of those values and some of those functional approaches to the East Coast out here. But it's been fun. We've been able to connect with a number of people and hopefully we've kind of set them on a path of curiosity to explore some of the things that inspire you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's about, man. Is trying to inspire people and help them live their best life. If someone knew that they could have a cup of tea that is anti-inflammatory, that would help them recover, that tastes awesome. The way that I describe the Coconut Warrior is the one I'm speaking about, because we serve it at the float centers. We carry all three, and people love them, especially the 8:30 p.m. float where someone floats, they're feeling relaxed, and then they come out and they grab they pour themselves a cup of the orange dreamsicle, and they take that on their way home, and they sort of sip that on their drive home, so that when they get home they can just go home and go to bed. One thing that I think is part of this education inspiration is to tell people that there's lots of different things that they can do that will help their bodies and that will help their brains. And from your Genesis story, from the day one of Wise Ape, just to help people, help reduce suffering and help increase performance. For people to know that they could do themselves a favor by having a cup of tea that's kind of purposeful, and also, is working with organizations that are beneficial for, brain tumors and multiple sclerosis. And, it's a big deal. Do people on the East Coast, and you're in New Jersey, is there a tea drinking culture out there? Like, can we find you on a Saturday night sitting on the floor on a pillow, sipping tea with weirdos in New Jersey? Like, is it part of the culture over there as far as you found?
Well, there is now because we're here, but
Yeah.
but no, beyond that, man, not so much. Even in terms of like tea lounges and stuff like that, there's not a ton of it. There's not a ton of it here in Jersey. So it's cool to be able to expose people to new teas, and not just like, you're not just grabbing a bag of Lipton off the shelf, or just a standard tea you might find in your Whole Foods even. It's something unique. So it allows us to introduce people to tea, but also to health. And part of our mission here in the tri-state area, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, is to start elevating that tea culture and to putting more tea in front of people. And that's something that we'd like to be more actively involved in moving forward as well as the company grows. In terms of creating the experiences that you're referring to, where it's not just drinking the tea anymore in your home, but maybe sharing that tea with some others.
Yeah.
And we've been able to do that through a number of wellness centers and float spas like yours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so many times in a post-float lounge, I've been hanging out, drinking tea with some amazing folks who have just floated or who are about to go float, and having some interesting conversations and sharing philosophies, and conversation over tea with a like-minded community it's just, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the ceremony of heating the water up to just the right temperature, and the pour, it really does bring people together. And speaking to the millennials, and this is going to kind of be a tangent, but speaking to sort of the millennial population, anybody under 35 has had access to information really quickly, and has also not accepted various cultural norms that the generation before did. And I think that the let's go out and get hammered at the bar culture is giving way to let's meet somewhere at a park and smoke some weed and talk, or let's go meet at a hookah lounge and smoke some hookah and talk, and let's build community around things that are not as detrimental, that's not the sort of party culture. And tea fits perfectly into that. And I've been a part of a couple of tea ceremonies with tea masters where they just keep pouring. In one example, we spent it was an equinox evening, and it was a bunch of my weird friends, shaman and astrologers and dancers and musicians and stuff, and we were having a tea ceremony with this guy, and he had this whole setup. He had a dozen different types of tea, and we all sat in like a U-shaped semicircle, and this, the ceremony involves like just the presentation of what we're all drinking now, and he explains kind of what this does and where it's from and where it's sourced and what the sort of stories are behind this, this oolong or this, this pu'er, and then he pours, and the thing is like they just keep pouring. Like if you finish you're not supposed to have an empty cup. Like if you get down, and they're tiny little teacups, but if you get down to, you drink your tea halfway, the tea master will just fill your cup. And so before long, 5 or 6 or 7 hours have passed. It's 2 a.m, and I'm jacked because we've been drinking tea for 6 hours and having these blends. And it was such a special experience because it was about fellowship and conversation and stimulation and connection. And I think that really suits the millennials. I think it really suits a culture that's gravitating away from sort of self-destructive behaviors and into more collaborative ways of being. Joe, have you ever done a tea ceremony like that?
I haven't, man. No, but it sounds absolutely incredible. So I would love to find something. Maybe I could find something in my area here. Maybe New York even would have something like that. That sounds absolutely incredible.
Just look for the hippies.
Look for the hippies.
Yeah.
And just to touch on what you just said, I think it's 1,000% right, especially with the way society's been going, where we've almost been disconnected from one another through technology in a way. There's a level of connection we obtain through technology, but there's also a level of social disconnection that's caused because of it. So, yeah, man, getting together over a pot of tea can be just another way to kind of connect and explore relationships and communicate face to face with people and share ideas openly. I feel like in today's day and age, there's less and less of that. People have become scared to share their thoughts or their ideas. They're kind of they've locked themselves in this box of technology, and it's important, man. It's important to get together and talk to people and build that trust and build that community and explore ideas.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's epigenetic, maybe it's evolutionary. Maybe there's something that goes back so far, generations after generations. Like we do have, your great 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 grandfather and grandmother sat around a fire and drank tea together. Like I feel like this process of sipping a beverage, gives you something to do. Beer's good, cocktails are good, sure, do your thing, but to sit around and have something to drink and have nowhere to go, it's just you and me and this cup of tea, and we're just going to sit and chat. I think there's a power of it. It really is a community building process and ceremony that allows us to connect in a really healthy way, in a functional way. We're probably not going to sit around drinking kale shakes. We're probably not going to sit around drinking like protein shakes. But tea really does lend itself to that sort of connection. I forget the name of it, but there was this blue tea, and I'd never seen it before. I forget the guy's. I think his name's Edgar. Was the guy who was hosting here in Seattle, and it was bright blue, and I pressed him on it, and I said, "Hey, man, this is. I'm not buying it. Like you're as legit as it comes, and you're serving me this stuff that looks like Gatorade. Like, what is this stuff?" And he's like, I said, like, what, how does it make that blue color? And he's like, there's no additives. There's something chemically, and I forget the name of what it was, but we sat and drank this blue tea for like 2 hours. It was just fun. It's just I dig it.
Yeah, I remember is actually something we've been wanting to look into because of the novelty of it. It looks kind of cool, but I haven't dug into the actual ingredients. But I remember seeing something along the same lines where it's a natural occurring blue tea, or even purple. I've seen some that are even purple, and they kind of like transform colors a bit. But it's naturally derived effect. But yeah, it's fascinating, man. There's so much out there that we're just not even exposed to yet. You know, the world of tea, the world of health and wellness in general, it goes so deep, and we're students of the game. We're constantly learning, you know, and it's a fun time, man. It's fun.
What are some other brands that you really like?
So personally, actually, I like ordering loose tea because I have this awesome little tea kettle here. So from time to time, I don't just drink Wise Ape, although often I do. But so I'll use, like, there's this brand I use called Golden Tips, and they're a Darjeeling tea company. So it's all organic teas from the high altitude mountains in Darjeeling in India, and I love their teas. Absolutely phenomenal flavor and profile. And one of my favorite things to do with a tea like that is you use a kettle and you go through a number of different steeps, right? So you'll do your first steep, you'll do your second steep, and obviously the caffeine content drops down with each one of those as well. So it's a nice way to kind of drink tea throughout the day while kind of tailoring off the caffeine content, the caffeine that you're consuming.
Can you explain that to us a little bit, Joe? What that means? First steep, second steep, like how? Can you outline that process?
Sure. So first steep is the first time that you're steeping the tea leaves in hot water. You pour out, you drink, and then the second steep would be you're doing the same process over again. And with a good tea, you can retain flavor throughout multiple steeps. So you'll notice with like a good organic green tea from Darjeeling that you can go through 4 or 5, even 6 steeps of tea.
Really?
And you're still getting some really nice flavor from that tea. And some people are like, you know, in the tea world, they prefer, I like the second steep of this tea. So there's intricate, it's really unique, man. It's really cool. So it's one of my favorite things to do when I'm just kind of maybe on a Sunday when I'm just relaxing, reading, and just hanging out, or with a group of friends where we're, like you said, we're having some conversation. I'll throw a pot of tea on. I'll throw some organic teas in there, and I'll do a first steep, I'll do a second steep, and I'll just keep it rolling until you're not really getting much out of there anymore except for water.
Sure. Speaking of water, do you just because I own float centers. I'm a Pisces. I'm just a nut. I'm a little crazy for water. It's just my thing. But do you use a special kind of water in your tea?
So I have a Berkey water filter.
Nice.
Which is one of the best filters on the market. I mean, there's others that are far better for sure, but in terms of like consumer grade, I think Berkey's really great at removing a ton of different toxic chemicals from the water and stuff like that. So yeah, I always use filtered water, and you really do notice a change in flavor and even texture sometimes with the way that it interacts with the teas. Recently, I have to mention this because I'd read about Kangen water. Are you familiar with Kangen water?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, I'd read about this, I guess, over the past year or so. I've been hearing about Kangen water, and recently I visited a wellness spa up in Jersey City, Om.life, just to give them a little shout out. They're one of our customers, and he has the Kangen water there, and he's like, you gotta try your tea with the Kangen water. It was the best tasting version of our tea that I've ever had. Man.
Nice.
It was absolutely incredible, and
describe it. What made it different?
Man, just the flavor profiles of our teas were just that much more prominent. And again, it was subtle, it was smooth, but I could just and I think our teas taste great with the way I'm doing it here, but man, it was just something about. I asked him. I said, "Did you put something in here? Like, did you add something to this tea?" He said, "No, man. It's the water. It's the Kangen water." And I don't know if you've ever seen the demonstration where with cold water, with a cold cup of water, and then a cold cup of Kangen water right next to it. If you drop a tea bag in, because I guess, and I'm probably going to screw this up. Maybe you could correct me here, Sean, but the molecular density is like lower. There's less molecules in the Kangen water, or something along those lines.
Yeah,
right?
It's alkaline, right?
It's alkaline, but it's also smaller density in terms of particles, so it's able to get into the tea much quicker. So you'll see the color change in a cup of Kangen water immediately in cold water. You touch that tea bag to the water and the colors just come out.
Huh.
Whereas in a regular cup of water, it's going to take 5 minutes.
Wow,
so,
that's pretty fascinating.
It blew my mind, man. It blew my mind. Yeah, so
that's
something
and the
I'd
actual
like
tea was good. I mean, it was the best. You said the best cup.
It was fantastic. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, it's like I'm drinking my own tea for the first time again. It was incredible.
Like, man, I do a really good. I make a really good cup of tea. Look at me go. What sort of teapot do you use? This is for tea core. This is for the people who gravitated toward this episode because they absolutely just dork out on it. And there are a lot of people like that. Like, what do you use for your pot?
Yeah, I have a couple of cast iron pots that I've collected over the past few years.
Good for you.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Nothing. Again, I came into this world from more of a health and wellness perspective, so I'm still. For me, there's still so much to explore and so much to learn in tea culture.
Oh yeah.
But I love it, man. Yeah. So just a couple cast irons, which do the trick, and little stainless steel insets that you can steep your tea in.
Yep. You're not doing the clay pot where you pour the water over the pot to keep it moist. That you're not that kind of level yet.
Not yet, man. I'm not there. That's like level 10. I'm at like level 7, I guess.
Yeah, I've only seen it. Obviously I don't do that at my house. The way that I drink tea is that we have a glass kettle that we fill with. So the water that we drink at my house is spring gathered. So there's actually I live half a mile away from the highest quality naturally occurring artisan spring water in the state, just right by my house. And so I'll go down and fill up. I've got 6 or 7 5-gallon jugs. A couple of them are glass and a couple of them are BPA free plastic, and so that's the only water that I drink at my house. So I make tea with that and coffee with that and cook with that and everything like that. So when I go out, I kind of know what good water tastes like when I'm just out and about or whatever. But that's how I do it. I'll just do a pot in my glass pot with that, and I can tell. And when people drink it that don't know any better, they're like, "Whoa, what is this?" Like it's almost sweeter. It's like, no, it just doesn't have a whole tube of toothpaste worth of fluoride in it, and it doesn't smell like chlorine like a pool at the gym. It doesn't have pharmaceuticals in it. It's a big deal.
Such an important point, man. Dude, that's awesome that you are that close to a clean spring like that. That's incredible.
You can go to findaspring.com,
mm-hmm.
and it's a resource to find whatever the sort of natural spring near you where you can actually go gather water. Findaspring.com. You can find. Now I have to look it up just to make sure.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. So one more time before we take it home, I would love to take a little bit more time talking about the organizations that you guys donate to, because I know that that's an important part of what you guys do. Can you tell us? Can you highlight the 3 organizations that the three current teas, more to come, are supporting? Because I think that this is a great opportunity to highlight those.
Yeah. So the National Brain Tumor Society, which is officially partnered with our Chocolate Hustle tea blend, again, they're seeking to find cures and medicines and supporting those with brain tumors and brain cancer. Um, and that's actually the organization that we were donating to through my father's illness. So fantastic organization there. Then there's the Michael J. Fox for Parkinson's Research, the largest organization in the world for researching Parkinson's. And again, 100% of all donations to them go directly to research. So administrative fees are already covered um, by some wealthy individuals who are covering this cost. So they're able to kind of take 100% of the donations and put it right towards research, which is awesome. And then, of course, the Warrior Angels Foundation, veteran-owned, veteran-run, two brothers who are looking to make a difference in the world, man. Because these guys, actually, I'd first heard about these guys on, I believe it was Joe Rogan's podcast, and their story is so compelling. They both had been suffering from TBI and PTSD after returning home. They were over medicated. It forced them. It pretty much put them in a position where they started drinking, and their lives were essentially falling apart. Families were about to leave them. Suicidal thoughts, the whole deal. And they found this guy, Dr. Mark Gordon, who helped totally transform their lives and bring their testosterone levels back up to normal, reduce the inflammation in the brain, all through mostly natural means. And they were able to kind of get off the meds. They were able to get their lives back, reclaim their lives. And they wanted to help other troops and other vets do the same thing. So that's what their organization's all about. They're great guys too. That's Adam and Andrew Marr. They're really good guys. So yeah, those are the three organizations. And we always intensely vet any partner that we're kind of looking to work with as well. So we look for organizations that are not only have a purposeful mission, and many times it's something that's close to our hearts, but also companies that are really, really making a difference, and they're doing it right, and it's coming from a place of passion. So
awesome,
yeah.
Joe. So I just looked it up, and there are 3 in New Jersey. There are 3 springs. So one's in Jamesburg, one's in Asbury Park, and one's in Mays Landing.
Oh, nice. 2 of those are pretty close to me.
Are you up in the northern?
I'm south, so I'm not far from Mays Landing, about 45 minutes from there, and I'm about an hour or so from Asbury Park. So it's not bad.
Yeah.
And we have some customers in both areas. So next time I'm making some wholesale runs, I'll swing by and grab some spring water.
Boom! There you go. Grab some big jugs and take them down there with you.
Yeah. What do you use? You use giant glass jugs to fill up, or?
I've got 3 glass carboys, which they use for brewing beer. They're 120 pounds when they're full of water. So they're heavy. They're super heavy, but it's worth it. So I've got 3 of those, and then I've got I think I've got 4 or 5 other plastic BPA free 5-gallon big jugs of water that you'd see like in the top of like a water dispenser that I rotate out a couple of times a year. So that's what I do. But for me, we'll come back with 35 or 40 gallons of gathered water, and that'll last my family about a month, cooking and eating and drinking that way.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I definitely got to try that out. I'll let you know how it goes. I'll let you know how our tea tastes with the.
Yeah.
Well, you already know.
I already know. It's amazing.
Yeah, you already know.
I'm probably getting the. Well, it's funny, right? Not to go on a tangent again, but the spring water in Seattle is different than the spring water in New Jersey. You may have different mineral content. Well, you're gonna have different mineral content, which is gonna highlight the flavor in a different way. It's gonna react to the tea. It's gonna be a different cup of tea. Oh, cool! I could go all day, man. We could talk about tea all day, but I think this is a good place to stop. Joe, is there anything else that we left out? Anything else that you really want to mention, or anything that you want to shout out before we take this thing home?
I just think, everybody listening, I mean, most of the people listening to this podcast are already well informed on health and wellness. So, yeah, for us, it's just about continuing to spread that information, spread that knowledge. We have an awesome blog where we publish pretty well researched health hacking content and about, wellness, about tea, about fitness. So if anybody wants to check that out, it's wiseapet.com. You can find it. It's called the Evolution Blog. And if you sign up for our email list, you'll get some awesome articles about wellness and health hacking as well. And yeah, man, I think just we need to continue, not only eating healthy, but drinking healthy. Drinking high quality teas is a great way to get additional nutrients, polyphenols, antioxidants into our system all day long. I'll typically just roll out with a glass jug of tea on the road with me and just be sipping it all day.
Nice.
So it's a great way to stay healthy and stay wise.
Nice. Good one. Joe, thanks for joining us today, man.
Thanks for having me, Sean. Really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Optimal Performance Podcast. As always, show notes, links to articles, explanations, and deep dives into the content based in this episode can be found at naturalstacks.com. The Optimal Performance Podcast is a Natural Stacks original. Our executive producers are myself, Sean McCormick, and Tyson Eldridge, and the OPP keeps rolling on.